Okay, what's up guys, it's Eli here back again with another video. I'm trying to make this video again for I think the third time, and there goes the light. See, nothing ever really goes as planned, but we're back. We still got this. So today I'm going to be giving you a beginner's guide on starting photography. If you're wondering how do I do that, just start shooting manual. That's the only way forward. And yeah, video ends right here. Bye. I'm just messing with you. Like, that's not how I just do that. But yeah, start shooting manual. How? Why? Here's why. This is a simple trick you're gonna learn, and if you master this, you're home and dry to learning how to shoot photography. Most people and most photographers are scared of doing this. Shooting manual. So you have to understand the triangle of exposure, or the exposure triangle. This consists of three things: aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. What is aperture? Aperture is simply the amount of light that this guy, the lens, allows inside to go through to hit the sensor. So if you have a smaller diaphragm, that means you have, a slower shutter speed, f8, f16 and the likes. So means you allow less light to go in. But if you open that guy all the way to like f1.8, like this lens, means you allow more light to enter the lens and hit the sensor. So what does that entail? It means if you have f1.8 or a smaller value, like for most guys would perhaps be using, like if you're using a DSLR camera or a kit lens rather, you have something called f3.5. Yeah, and that's the furthest that your lens can open. And that's, try and open it as wide as you can. If you can allow the lens to go in and you allow more light to enter your sensor, means a brighter image. And if you want something, smaller, you get it, f-stop. So higher f-stop, if it's f1.8, wider aperture, f8, smaller aperture. We got it, we good. Yes, and that aperture also affects something called the depth of field. And this depth of field can be a shallow depth of field with a wider aperture opened if you're using a smaller f-stop like f1.8. If you want a longer depth of field where everything's in focus, you use f8 or something lower. So if you start stopping down f4, f5, stuff, blah blah blah, you start to see it changing. And also that f-stop also affects something in most lenses, and that's the sharpness of the image. If you asking yourself why are my images as sharp, it's a f-stop. So meaning if you have a very wide f-stop, there'll be blurriness going on your image. It's not going to be that sharp. But if you stop it down to f4 and f5.6, you find your image starts getting sharper. So that's one of the guys down. Let's go to the second guy, which is shutter speed. Shutter speed is simply how fast your shutter is shooting or capturing an image. So if you keep your shutter, like let's say for example 1/20th of a second, so 1/20th of a second meaning it's quite slow as opposed to 1/1000th of a second, 1/4000th of a second, or 1/8000th of a second. These cameras will go ridiculous. I'm telling you, probably expensive things, but most cameras just go to 1/4000th of a second. And you use shutter speed in variations. If you want to use a faster shutter speed, you use that in things like sport photography. If you're having fast motions, trying to take photos of your kids or kids in general at parties, stop down that aperture and everything's going to be in focus and you won't miss anything. Even just, adults running up and down, horses, dogs, pets, all that stuff. You get everything, you get the action, and you'll be happy with it. So remember, 1/200th and or 225, 200 and 250 of a second. Yes, so what I'm trying to say is 1/200th of a second and beyond, you get faster motion and you get everything in focus. But if you want blur, motion blur, even for videos, goes the same concept. If you stop down, if you're shooting 1/20th of a second, you allow more light, but blurriness gets there. Like for example, I'm shooting at 50 1/50th of a second, and you see the blurriness. The last thing we're going to talk about will make or break your image depending on your camera and how it works, depending on what the native ISO is. Yes, ISO. So if you shoot at your native ISO, for example, my camera is 100, I'll get just a well exposed from what the camera thinks is okay to work with, meaning I'll be working with the noise. But if I'm shooting at a high or beyond the native ISO, I introduce noise with it. But it's basically, all I'm trying to say is ISO is artificial light that you add to your images. And if in case you're in a dark environment and your camera can allow to crank it up to a certain level where you cannot introduce noise, that's why you add ISO. So basically, those are the tips and tricks of starting to work with manual. Learn to tweak those things, and you'll be home and dry to working with your camera and shooting better images. And don't worry, I'll make a video explaining how these things work practically, because you need to practice and see this in practice or in practical situations, and you understand rather than me just telling you, oh, this is how that works and stuff, as if I'm reading a teleprompter or something. And it's just the wall I'm looking at right now. And yes, so go shoot, show me what your images are. You can tag me in your Instagrams or Facebook pages or accounts and stuff, to see what you guys are actually shooting, and I will really appreciate it. And don't forget to like, subscribe to my channel, and support your guy. Yeah, so yeah, good night, get some rest, or watch more videos, or go create, go do something productive. Hey, good night.